Hey, and welcome to the House of the Builder podcast, where faith and works are coworkers. Starting out that professional relationship. Maybe it turns into something else. We don't know yet.
Well, there's like policies about inter-office.
Nothing about. Maybe they're just friendship. It's like good.
Oh,
maybe they're going to be best friends.
Why
There's
you
no-
always
got to make it about romance, man?
Oh, I mean,
Romance is life. Maui for sure, huh?
how you doing? You said some coffee. Speaking of coffee, more on that later. Yeah, welcome to the show. We're really excited to be here again. Thank you to everyone for watching our last episode with Aaron and Emily Reeves. If you didn't, the link is in the description. Maybe I'll put like one of those things up here, the title card things. I don't know. We'll see.
Go watch it now, or else.
Or not. I mean,
This is a threat.
probably not. Nah, probably. What are you threatening? What are you...
I'm going to pray for you.
There it is. Yeah. So don't do it. So we don't want them.
I'm going to pray for you anyways, but just I'll pray extra
so
hard.
Confusing. How are you?
I'm good, Dan.
Good.
Rosie, sorry.
Dan? Who the hell's Dan?
I said Lan.
Oh. I'm good, Lamb.
Hello, local area network.
I love
Lan.
lamb. Okay. Anyways, we're excited about this one. We talk about beer.
One of my favorite topics.
Yeah, Adam Mills from Adam Makes Beer on YouTube and on Instagram. Links in the description.
Spoiler alert. We talk about beer.
Yes.
A lot, actually.
Yes. Like that's his thing. We also talk about finding purpose in craftsmanship because that's important. Hey?
What kind of ship is a
Like-
craftsmanship?
Well, we're about to find out. I don't know myself. Never been on a craftsmanship.
Neither
Never
have
been
I.
on a regular ship. Never been
Well, you've been in a relationship.
and an apprenticeship,
Hey,
but not in a craftsmanship.
you guys know this guy's a welder? Or sort of
Oh.
wireline technician?
Wireline.
Isn't that...
No, it's what is it? Why? You put me on the spot. Wire process operator.
I think wireline technician has a better ring to it.
Yeah, but it's a completely different industry.
Ah,
That's all the same.
semantics.
Wires. Whatever.
We're also going to cover the importance of community and empathy in your craft and just like generally in your life.
Yeah.
Like, being a good host.
It's a really good one. It's a really good one.
Loving on people through food and being a
Yeah.
good person.
Like there's something to breaking bread together. Why do you think Jesus had like meals with people?
It's true.
His whole ministry is based around food. Really? Like actually though.
It is.
Like from
Eating with the people that other people think you should not be eating with.
yeah, that and John 6 and how he's always like having fish fries and stuff and the feeding of the 5,000. Like it's all food. It's all breaking bread together.
I'm going to admit something. I didn't realize there was 2 instances in the Bible of Jesus feeding a large crowd with loaves and fish.
You gotta crack that bad boy open a little more.
Well, okay, like I knew of like Jesus feeds the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish, but there's also one with 7 loaves.
Or there's 3,000 or something.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Or something. I should know.
I've been Catholic for almost 30 years, and I just realized that there's 2 instances. Because initially I was gonna I've been using the Hallow app.
Yes, shout out
Big
Hallow.
ups to Hallow. And it was like the daily mass readings, and it was it was like they got the number of loaves and fish wrong. I'm like, this is like basic stuff, guys. Come on.
What translation is this? And then the God's like,
Actually, you are the fool.
you are wrong.
Oh, you little faith.
You're calling out 2,000 years of tradition. You're
I
like
don't mind.
Christianity.
Don't
Hey,
mind me.
this is wrong.
I actually know more than the writers of
Do
the
you
Bible.
not know who I am? Anyways, we're excited to talk with Adam. It was a really fun one. Before we get started, if you could please, well, first of all, thank you again to those of you who watched our last episode and liked it and shared it. It got a lot of traction, and we were very blessed and humbled by that. So thank you.
The fruits.
The fruits. There's a shirt coming. But also, if we could keep this momentum going, that'd be amazing. So if you could, like this episode, share it, share the show with a friend, subscribe, and on your whatever podcast app you're listening on, If it's not YouTube, on Spotify or Apple or whatever it is, give us a rating. It really helps like get the show out in front of people's eyeballs. So yeah, let us know also what topics I jumped on you there.
Yeah.
Let's start that book.
What? No, we're good. We're good. We're rolling. We'll do it live.
Do it.
Do it live like Bill O'Reilly. Not like him at all. Let us know who you guys want on the show or what you would like to see on the show. We've been batting around some ideas,
Yeah.
but obviously we want to make content that people want to watch or listen to. So let us know.
Yeah. There's a specific topic or a specific guest you'd like to see us have on. Like, hey, this person would provide a cool perspective.
We have an
Just yeah, comment.
we have an approximate knowledge of many things, and I will talk at length about anything with anyone.
Yes, it's one of my character flaws.
Anyways, please enjoy the show with Adam. I remember you can find him at Adam Makes Beer on YouTube and probably all other forms of social media.
Take care. Love your hair. See you. Bye.
So close. Peace.
Again. Dang it.
Hey guys, welcome back to House of the Builder. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we have with us Adam Mills, or on social media you can find him at Adam Makes Beer.
Yes.
I hope that explains what he does. If not, stay tuned for the rest of the episode, and we'll
We'll
hopefully
see what
elucidate you.
happens. We're sleuthing this one out here.
Yeah,
We're gonna get to
yeah,
the bottom
really
of
got to
this.
connect these dots for people.
Do you in fact make beer? Now, for those of our listeners who haven't heard of you before, if they've been living under a rock or something, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so for the last 14 years of my professional career, I've been a professional brewer. The first 10 years of my working life, I was a high school teacher. So I taught as well. I taught at risk kids, kids that were expelled or court ordered from their original school into our program. And then did that for 10 years and then got into the pro brewing side. And I started making educational, pro brewer focused content on YouTube and in podcast form where I would record kind of in brewery content because there's a lot of home brewing content available on YouTube, but there's not a lot of pro side stuff. So it kind of scratched that teacher itch as
Yeah.
well. And so yeah, I started doing that, and then as of October of last year, I'm full time doing that. Full disclosure, though, there was like we were considering me doing that in the summer of 2024, but I didn't. We didn't quite pull the trigger on it. I did get. I was laid off from the brewery that I was working at, so sometimes your cards are played for you. But
Yep.
Mm.
I am doing content creation full time now, and so, yeah, I do a bunch of live stream podcasts, um, multiple a week. I've started to do some stuff that's not beer as well. I'm a big NFL Detroit Lions fan. I just started a Lions podcast, just trying to get better at that whole side of thing too. But yeah, I'm passionate about helping people get better at brewers, whether that be on the homebrew side or on the pro side.
So did
Love
you
that.
start out of home brewing while you were teaching and whatnot?
Like, was it the
Yeah.
teaching that got you into just
Drinking?
making a lot more booze?
Well,
I
it's way
mean,
easier to
this is
just
a
buy
safe
it.
place. This is a
It
safe.
is.
Yeah.
It is easier to just buy it, and as much as homebrewers like to tell you that it's cheaper for them to make beer at home, I would, yeah, I don't know about that. Typically, it's one of those hobbies that just kind of keeps growing and growing and growing. Um, but yeah, no, I started homebrewing while I was teaching, and the thing for me that really hooked me was I found I could compete with it. So they have homebrewing competitions. You can become a
Yeah.
certified beer judge. I did both of those things, and I got very, very, very hardcore with entering
Yeah.
beer competitions and stuff like that. And that's kind of some success I had on that side was kind of what created my foot in the door for starting to brew professionally.
Love that.
Okay, so what brewery were you most recently working at? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
was
okay to
work.
say that? Are you okay to say that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have a good relationship with them. It's Sonder Brewing outside of Cincinnati, actually in Mason, Ohio. So, but yeah, yeah, I was there. I was director of brewing operations there. Um, and yeah, I've kind of done it all on the production side. I've worked on really, really small brew houses. One that, basically a 10-gallon brew house that I had to turn 3 times in a day to make a barrel of beer. I brewed on brew houses that are, like 30 barrels. So much, much larger, and kind of everything in between. So yeah.
Love that.
This is you can't have beer. So
I'll be back. No, I got a question. I'm gonna hold on. Can we unplug that so it doesn't look so jank in our shot? I know. It's fine. It's fine.
it's
No,
cool.
I got a good one. I got a big gotcha question for him.
Oh,
Okay.
Potential keep going and then I'll drop it. It's very controversial, my question.
no, I want to hear
Okay.
this now.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay. No. Go keep asking questions.
coward.
No, it's fine. Trust me. It'll be the time will present itself. Everyone's like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?"
Why are you gatekeeping a question, Rosie?
How do you feel about gluten-free beer?
Um, I have not. Okay, so
That's the controversial.
I can only drink gluten free beer. So
Oh,
it's like
really?
the dirty secret behind Adam makes beer is Adam makes beer, but Adam cannot drink beer. About
Whoa.
2 years ago, I don't know if it just got progressively worse or whatever. But dude, I haven't drank a beer in 2 years. It's just like a huge like inflammatory issue for me.
Mhm.
And it's such a night and day difference that it's it, I miss it, but the repercussions are so bad. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, believe
But
me,
you don't need to
believe me.
get into
So,
details.
but honestly, it's like an anxiety and depression thing primarily.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry. I thought it was like guessing or whatever.
No, well, there's of course that
Yeah.
bonus as well, but no, but from like an anxiety depression standpoint, it's
Interesting.
crazy. It's super super crazy. So, do I like gluten free beer? I've not had a lot of gluten free beer that I have liked. Um, First of all, I think it's hard to make gluten free beer in the way that you're required to use grains that are not typically beer flavored grains. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You have to
Oh, yeah.
use alternate grains. So that's one of the difficult things. But I've got my fingers crossed. There's a couple of breweries that I'm going to grab some beer from here soon. I know there's a place out in Denver and there's a place in maybe Washington that I've been chatting with. But I would love very much to get a nice gluten-free beer in front of me and actually be able to have like something that's like, hey, yeah, this is like beer. This would be good. But
Yeah.
do you have a take on gluten-free beer?
Well, I'm also gluten-free. I have an
Mm,
allergy. And that's why I was wondering, because I'm always like, hanging around with the guys or whatever, and then it's like they're passing out a beer, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, Rosie, you can't." It's always
yeah.
one of those. Yeah, no problem. I'll just drink this straight. It's fine.
Well, and the funny thing is like, I can have a seltzer, I can have a cocktail. I don't mind those things, but like the reality is in my mind, like there's times for certain things.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know what I mean? And whether it's whether it's how it goes with food, how it goes with the weather, how it goes with the season, there are certain times that are for beer, you know? So I think more the thing that I miss the most about it, and it kind of taps into like some of the core stuff about why I love brewing and what I love about it is one of the most difficult things for me is that I cannot receive hospitality from other brewers that I love, right?
Mm,
So I have dear friends in the industry, and the fact that they can't come over to my house anymore and bring a lineup of beers that they've been working on and having us share them and like
yeah.
break them down and really, but like not being able to receive hospitality is almost the worst thing about it, because for me personally, and with the way I was raised, with how my family did things, my mom's side of the family is all very Italian, and they love with food, right? That's how they care for you. And so I really see brewing and beer making as an extension of that. Um, and so once I got to a point where I could no longer like engage in that way with somebody else, it's and not to sound like overly dramatic, but it's a little bit of a painful thing,
Yeah.
because it's something that, especially when it's friends, especially when it's friends that are like they really pursue being great at what we do. Those are the best times. Those are the best like drinking sessions, tasting sessions, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, that stuff gets me fired up.
Yeah. Geez, I never thought of it like that. Like being able to, because it's twofold, right? There's giving, like, or like receiving it, because
Yeah.
just as like receiving it because it makes you feel good, but
Hmm.
also knowing that they're trying to bless you and that you can't receive that like on their behalf. And like, no, I totally get it. That's
Sure.
why I was wondering. Any plans to make one, or like try to make a? I mean, there's no money probably in gluten free beer. But
Well, it's tough. Like I said, the primary hurdle is that you have to use non-traditional beer ingredients trying to make beer, and that can be tough. I'm not sure exactly like what my path right now in beer is. I still get into breweries every month, and I record brew days for my YouTube channel and things like that. So I still have, like some boots in the brewery. Um, but I'm really at a point to where I don't know really what's next. I do consultations. I just got back from Boston. I was helping a guy out there who's getting a place off the ground. Um, yeah, it's it's been a strange 13, 14 months for me, because for so long, I worked for the 25 years that my wife and I have been married, and going through like that layoff and trying to build this company of mine. um it's it tests it tests your faith and your trust, right? Because I know like the metrics that I would like to be hitting and everything like that. And what I found is, and I feel like what I've been being taught is will always be provided for. Yes, I have, my wife and I have the responsibility of being diligent and working hard. But I'm not in control of how those things are going to play out. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
so yeah, whether I end up brewing again, I think more than likely I'm going to be on this content creation consult side. Um I really do enjoy it. Um but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll kind of see how it plays out.
Wow. There's a lot of faith involved here.
So you had touched on your Italian background and
Uh-huh.
loving through food. So
Mhm.
do you think your like love of brewing and creating your own, I don't want to say product, that doesn't sound right, but um do you think that like love of creating something tangible that you can like give and bless people with, do you think that kind of stemmed from your upbringing and I don't know how to end
Yeah.
that question.
No, no, no. 100%,
That was perfect.
100%. Like I remember one of my most vivid memories as a kid was, so my mom grew up on the East Coast out in New Jersey. My mom's family is very city, very, very much city people. And then my mom and my dad got married. They moved out to Michigan, and where I grew up, we were like 10 miles from a paved road. Maybe not that far, but it might have been. So we were in the sticks. We were in the country. And I remember them flying out, and my grandfather worked in that was still like when you would have like an Italian butcher, like you would have small businesses that were like they still had like ethnic neighborhoods. So they like lived in the Italian part of town. They went to the Italian butcher. And so my grandfather was a butcher. Um, and so they would fly out with all these suitcases, and they just brought all this food out with them. And like my grandmother made all these things. Like she made all the cannoli shells ahead of time and had them all packed out just right so they wouldn't break, and like in transit and whatever. So but we would do like, so for first communion, um all that stuff, they would come out and we would do like 5-course meals, right? So you would have the mass, and then everybody would come back, and then it was you're really eating from like noon into the evening, right? And it's in courses, and there's
Must
like
have sounded
time. And
Yes,
so
yes.
no, yeah. And so I mean, but that was a really big thing,
God bless.
And so yeah, I mean, I always think it was I always think it was it was a big part of that. And with the beer thing, I think initially what helped to fuel some of those things is one, for guys like me, it's cool. um it's just like, man, what it's such an awesome job to have, you know what I mean? I get to think about beer for a living and make beer for a living. That's very, very cool. But yeah, there is that thing. It's wild to walk into a tap room and everybody in there is drinking beer that you've made, and that's a cool feeling. And that hospitality type concept certainly plays a big factor there.
I love that.
I,
Well,
I wonder if other tradesmen get that sort of thing when they like drive through a subdivision. And it's like, oh, I built all these houses.
I've
Oh,
heard that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I've heard many tradesmen be like, "Yeah, I helped build the addition on the hospital," or "I helped build that." Like, it's a sense of pride, right? It's a building that'll
Yeah,
be there for longer than they're alive.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, what specifically got you into brewing itself? Like, did it like I kind of touched on it, but like hobby into professional? Like, did you take like any brewmaster courses? Like, are you a certified brewmaster? I don't know if they do that in the States. Like,
Yeah.
give us a little more of that backstory.
Did you just have one beer? It changed your life, and you're just like, I got
Yes.
to learn how to make this.
Yeah, the clouds parted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no, really, we used to throw my wife and I started throwing an Oktoberfest party when we first got married, and the rule was, bring something German.
Love it.
It was very well planned. Most people just brought beer. We brought some people brought some beer, sort of some German adjacent foods, and we just got together and had a good time. But one of the actually one of my dear friends, he was my best man. So you interviewed somebody from Harmel, the
Mhm.
president of Harmel, Dave.
Yeah.
He's a dear friend of mine. We grew up together, and when he and his wife were leaving that party, he said, next year you need to make the beer for Oktoberfest.
Ah.
So it's really his fault. So I ended up checking it out, and I was fortunate because I had got into the hobby right when podcasting kind of started popping off. And I started listening to a podcast that had just launched maybe 6 months before I had started homebrewing, called the Brewing Network, and they're out of California. And the guy who started that company and podcasting company, Justin, he was connected with all like these really high level professional brewers and home brewers. And he just had weekly shows, weekly podcasts where they would get together and they would have beers. It was called the Sunday Session. They would get together, have beers, they joke around, and also talk brewing. It was like a 3.5 hour podcast sometimes, but they would have these really high level pros and amateur brewers on there, just really giving away awesome information. And it just really shortened the learning curve for me, and it was kind of one of those things where how technology affects things. I've learned a lot since that point, but obviously, but my foundation in brewing is still built off of what I learned listening to the Brewing Network for free. At
Mm.
that point, I had a commute that could be anywhere from 1 hours to 2 hours each way, and I just plowed through their content. I just listened to everything because that's just what I do. That's how my personality works. But you just learn as much as you can, and then I started getting really involved in the competition and judging side of things. And most people will enter one, two, three, maybe some people enter 5 beers in a competition. I was entering like 35 beers in a competition.
35?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Gosh.
was I was brewing, like, I got to a point to where, like, I wasn't brewing like to have beers with the boys. I was
Brewing
brewing
to
to
win.
compete. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, it's just kind of how I'm ordered a little bit, but yeah. So I got really really dialed in on that side, and so I would say that, like, the level of research and stuff that I was doing for the average home brewer was unusual, but I was always very passionate about it, and I ended up never doing any school. I was very fortunate though, to get a little bit of training with a dear friend of mine, Bill Gerds. He brews down in Raleigh now. I used to go down to Ann Arbor to just shadow with him, because there's a difference in the equipment between home brewing and pro brewing. There's plenty of the nuts and bolts are the same. The
Mm.
nuts and bolts are the same, but there's equipment differences, and understanding how to work with that equipment. So I shadowed with him, and then I was very, very fortunate when the brewery that I helped to open, the first brewery that I worked for, when we needed another person, I was able to hire him. And it was kind of crazy because he had tons of experience compared to me, and he came to work with me. But yeah, I learned so much from him right away. That was really like my that was really me becoming a pro. And there was a lot of stuff, like, where I continued to grow since then through experience and whatnot. But Bill was the one that really, the podcasting thing shortened my learning curve as a home brewer. And Bill Bill fast forwarded my pro career from an experience standpoint of just getting that. Maybe I was with him for like a year and a half or 2 years, maybe, that we worked together. But he was a cheat code for me growing as a pro.
That's awesome. You kind of had like found your own apprenticeship.
Totally.
Yeah, and I've always, it's funny, like, almost, sometimes we'll use the terminology, oh well, this guy, this person's like a brewer's brewer, right? Like,
Mm.
they love it, and they respect it, and they're serious about it. They're always trying to get better. That's what I kind of mean when I say like a brewer's brewer. I think I've been really fortunate to be surrounded by those people. And it wasn't actually until I got a little bit further into my career when I realized that some people were doing it kind of just for a job, which I've personally never really understood. Like, no judgment if you want to do it just for a job, but, like, unless you, like, want to be great at it, I don't understand why you're doing it. You could get paid more money for for doing something that's easier, because it's manual labor. I mean, most of us in this field, where it's blue collar. It's not that Sam Adams commercial where the brewer is like pouring spices into his hand and then smelling it,
Yes.
and like the sun is streaming down on his
Yeah. Yeah.
beard. That's not really
What do you mean?
there's
What
a
do you
lot
mean
of
the media lied to us?
What?
yeah, yeah, that
Man.
part true. No, it's a lot of sweaty people with bad backs and smelly rubber boots. So
That
yeah.
sounds like a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
seeing some parallels between you and concrete workers. I have a background in precast concrete, and there was some hunched over old men.
Yeah, man. I
that
tell you what, one of the best things I ever did was I
His
started.
camera's actually on the floor right now.
Okay.
No, your camera.
But no, I mean,
Okay.
honestly, one thing that was good for me was, well, I had to have Achilles surgery at one point. But anyways, when I could no longer run, I started, and this was like in my like when I turned 40. My Achilles got to the point to where I couldn't run, so I started lifting, and it was so
Yeah.
good. It was so good for just like understanding like the appropriate way to move weight, and where my body needs to be positioned while I'm doing labor. I got, I was healthier after doing that, not just because like, sure, I might have gotten a little bit stronger, but like I started to understand the physics of how I needed to be moving stuff. So we really do have to, we really do have to take care of ourselves in that way. Cause I mean, you get beat up.
I just had this vision of you talking about your bad back, and I'm explaining my joke. I shouldn't be doing that, but your back is so hunched over that right now you're looking down at the floor at us.
Yeah.
Your camera's staring you up in the face.
Yeah.
Why did that just doesn't leave my brain?
Okay, we can chase the rabbit.
It's fine. We're good. It's ADHD. Um, what did you do before? Like you said you taught. Did
Yeah.
you
I taught
teach
high
your
school
whole
social studies. Yeah.
correct? Did you teach your whole professional career up until then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I got out of college, and back then I had a history degree and then just a certification in
Mm.
secondary ed, and so I ended up doing my student teaching in the fall semester, and so I had graduated, done my student teaching, and then I moved back to Michigan because that's where my folks were living. My wife, my fiance, and at the time, well, we were obviously engaged. My now wife, she had one more semester to go of school, and so I really just came back. I started working in the factory. My friend Dave, his dad ran a small tool and die shop, and
Mm.
so I just went back there because I worked there during summers. And so I was working at the shop, and then I ended up halfway through the school year. I ended up picking up a teaching job at an alternative school, and I didn't even know what an alternative school was. But yeah, I taught history, social studies for 10 years, and that was a good thing for me. I mean, it was really intense. It was
Yeah.
very intense. So like when I was at the second school I was at, we had a lot of issues with violence, and it was a high stress, high anxiety type position. I think, especially for somebody like me, who I engage very heavily on an emotional level with
Mhm.
what I'm doing. And so that was a hard one. Um, I used to eat my stress. those
Preach.
were the years. Those were the years. We had this thing called. There's a fast food thing down here called Culver's, and I would
I've
get
heard.
I would get the double bacon butter burger, 2 orders of cheese curds, and a large Mountain Dew, and then I would eat it on the drive home, and then I would be embarrassed that I ate so much food that I would eat dinner. So I would hide the fast food bag like an alcoholic hides an empty fifth, and then I would still just eat more food. So yeah, I was eating a lot of stress back in those
Wow.
days.
Yeah, yeah. No kidding. I wonder why you left. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
Weird.
tell you what, man, it was, I think I was really blessed because I feel as if, I left while I was still able to like give it an honest effort. I think we've probably all seen people who, no matter what the field is, but people that have just been there too long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was at a place where I think in some cases the administration for the school district would try to make teachers retire by sending them to work there. Um,
No way.
and oh yeah, yeah. So like one time they moved a poor guy. I mean, they moved somebody there who struggled with classroom management. Super nice dude, worked really hard, but he would just wasn't it just wasn't his thing. And so they moved him there, and those kids feasted on him. It
Oh, they
was
just probably ate him
horrible.
alive. Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. So anyways, so yeah, it was a little bit of a pressure cooker. But yeah, I was glad that I still had something left in the tank for it when I quit, because I think all kids deserve a teacher that can give a good effort, but I feel like especially those kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It reminds me of we have a friend of ours who had a very similar experience with we called it the care campus here. But
Mm.
I remember we were renovating his basement, and I was just like, "Oh, like how was work today?" And he's just like, "Oh, I'm getting really good at dodging chairs."
Yeah, yeah, dude.
It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, so good. Okay." Um, I didn't know how to answer that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I even asked. Yeah,
It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we live in different worlds." Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh
But
gosh.
obviously you're connected with the president of Harbel Academy, which is very
Mhm.
very Catholic, very religious.
Yeah.
How have you been able to apply your faith to your beer making? Obviously, the Catholic Church and monks have a rich history of brewing.
Sure.
Has that ever been an interest of yours, or do you have any way that you've kind of made brewing like a spiritual practice?
Yeah, I think on a couple of levels. I think there is, I always talk about with brewer friends of mine. None of us want to be working on weekends. But sometimes things go wrong with the schedule, something breaks, you have to get beer out and you have to work when you don't want to be working. And I tell you, some of the most peaceful times I've had in the brew house is on one of those days where you're not supposed to be working, you're not supposed to be brewing, and it's just you in the brewery. The rest of the place is closed down. There's no guests. There's no other workers, and you you know all the sounds, all the smells of the process, and like you hit that point where there's like this symbiotic thing going on between you and the brew house, and you can just be part of the process, right? And it almost becomes like a little bit like ritual, right? There's definitely something to that, and there's something that's calming, and centering around that. Now, not like ritual in the same way of the mass, but I do think that it's something that's familiar to a Catholic sensibility, right? Um, I think another way that compares, and this is a way that I fail, and I failed on both sides of this equation, but a lot of times, you think, well, like, I'm a brewer and I make beer, and the reality is um, a brewer participates in the process,
Mm.
right? Because ultimately it's the yeast that's fermenting that beer. Now we're trying to set that yeast up for success and give that yeast what it needs under the appropriate conditions to get the final product that we want. But you are a participant, but you're not the maker per se, when it comes to brewing. And in my experience too, I've in my own spiritual walk, I think that too often, I confuse myself, for the potter rather than the clay, right?
Mm.
Um, I'm consistently trying to form myself, rather than allowing myself to be formed. Um, and like when I talk about this stuff, this isn't stuff that like I've come about, like meritoriously. It comes about through failure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just gave a talk at a brewers conference over in Pennsylvania, and we were talking about like Simon Sinek years ago gave a very famous TED talk, talking about your why. And I've done I did a podcast kind of surrounding that idea, because for me it was, I've had the wrong aims throughout my life in a lot of different ways. And like one of them was on the brewing side, which led to a tremendous amount of unhappiness was, I identified as a brewer. This is where my value lays, not in the fact that I'm a child of God, not in the fact that I'm a husband, that I'm a father, that I'm a son, that I'm a friend. But I put all my eggs in that I'm a brewer basket, and the metric for being successful was medals and winning awards and being recognized, and it was very much something that was ego fueled, and I think I did a pretty good job of masking that, but I think, I mean, it was definitely there, and it was an issue. And so, you know, when you're aiming in the wrong places, sometimes you get to some really sad spots. And yeah, definitely had some hard times. Um, and but yeah, thankfully, kind of got the ship righted, got reoriented, with the help of my wife and some wonderful friends and some wonderful priests. And yeah, so like when I talk about this stuff, it's not like, oh, this is just stuff that I just have down. Usually it
Yeah,
it
of
comes
course.
from a fair amount of failure.
Well, I mean, failure is if you let it, it can be a very, very powerful teacher, right?
Oh yeah, for
It's the
sure.
human experience,
Yeah.
really, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with learning from failure.
So have you been able to find, like, dignity in what you're doing? Obviously, you enjoy it and stuff, but is there, like, an extra depth, like, an extra,
Mm,
like, depth of purpose or some sort of you just know that's where you're supposed to be? Or I don't know what
yeah.
I'm trying to ask here, but just some sorta sense of, like, this is more than me just brewing beer
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
like
Absolutely. Well,
from it.
and it was a big hurdle too. Going from teaching at-risk kids to making beer for a living.
Yeah.
Like when I was teaching kids that, were like really needed somebody that cared about them, at the end of the day, no matter whether you had a good day or a bad day, you at least knew that you were at least trying to do something that was a good,
Yeah.
whether how successful you were or not. But, um, when I started brewing, um, there was some crisis there, right? Of like saying, how do I, this is not the same thing. Ironically, people are more interested in talking to you when you make beer as opposed to working with at-risk kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was never interviewed by the local newspaper when like I helped somebody pass high school history.
Yeah.
But when I started to make beer for a living, people wanted to interview me. But I think one of the big blessings and turning points for me was when I had listened to that Why talk by Simon Sinek a few times, and one of the things that he says in that talk is when you're trying to figure out what you're all about as a professional, like what really matters to you. Um, he said, "What makes you say that when walking out of work, I would have done that for free?" Now, not
Mm,
literally, you know what I mean, but what really started to hit me was when I was at Cartridge Brewing. So we're living in Michigan. We moved down here in the middle of the pandemic to help open a brewery called Cartridge Brewing, um, and I ended up hiring two people into the brewery there, Josh and Maggie, and they were the best. We Our personalities clicked. They worked really hard. They wanted to get better. They were appreciative. They were kind-hearted, and we had the best time together. Like we worked hard. They always wanted to grow. We all enjoyed supporting each other, and we just had fun. Like Maggie and I are two like big personalities. We like to make people laugh. And we have like, up and down emotions. Josh is the most like level dude on earth. So we would just try to like get a reaction out of Josh, right? if you could make Josh laugh, that was like a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
So we just had fun, but we went in there and we busted our tails. And it was great. And that was really when I started thinking about more of that, like, hey, like, what really makes me happy with what I'm doing? I love making beer. I love trying to get better at making beer. I love all that stuff, but you know, training and mentoring is far more like satiating for the soul for me, you know. And since leaving teaching, I felt like I had kind of lost that opportunity, and then I was kind of rediscovering it on the beer side. And that's one of the things that has fueled me doing content on YouTube, educational content on YouTube and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I really found, like, I don't know, not to, it sounds silly to say that's where I found my groove, but like that's how I connect brewing and what I do to things that really matter. You know what I mean? To things that are meaningful.
That's the whole point,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
finding purpose in what you do. That's really cool. That's well, my next question was going to be about is how does or like was it tough leaving that position as at risk youth? Like it's a
Mm.
noble whatever, and then transitioning. Like was it hard leaving that? And you answered it before I could ask. So that's awesome. That's just on the
Well, but
ball.
you know, but at the same time too, like looking back, I wish like I had known things. And I don't know how old you guys are or how dumb I am, but I feel like I've just like walked through so much of my professional career literally not knowing what's going on. So
Yeah,
like
I can relate to that. Yeah,
like when
yeah,
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
teaching,
Get
when
out
I
of my
was
head.
teaching,
Yeah.
bro, I'm telling you, like, and it's one of the it's one of the reasons that I like doing the 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 coaching, teaching stuff, mentoring stuff that I'm doing in the YouTube spaces. If I can help give somebody some clarity and like help them like level up a little bit, even just like with awareness of what's going on around you, because my industry is weird because like professional events like really can just be big drinking festivals. Like you could just go out, you could just go to a conference and just get hammered the entire time, not go to talks, and just have like the world passing you by, and you're realizing that you're missing out on opportunities of meeting with suppliers and building relationships with suppliers in the trade show, which is a big deal. Like I don't think people understand, like when you say, oh, I'm going to a conference and there's a trade show, it's time for you to meet people and to like make connections with people, especially like if you're on the brewing side. Talk to the people that are on the technical side, like the geeks that they send to the conferences. Like those are going to be the people that you can lean on. You need to network up, and yeah, you can go out and have some drinks and have a good time, but like you're supposed to be like, meet some people, meet some like-minded people that are on that path that you're on. You know what I mean? Leverage those opportunities. But you know, for me, like when I first started teaching, I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have a lesson plan done before I walk into this class. Yes, that was how bad I was at that. I was a terrible lesson planner, but I was really good in front of students.
Yeah,
And I
that's me
definitely
too.
leaned on that as a crutch. Oh, 100%, dude. Like I would be sweating. I
We
would
just
go from
become best
class to
friends.
class.
Yeah.
I Dude, it was so
Uh,
bad. It was so bad. And believe me, there was times where, yeah,
like
I
I'm just
was
leaving room for
ridiculous,
the
but
Holy
still.
Spirit to inspire me, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
that's
you
it. That's
justify
it.
the heck out of
Me
it. Like,
too.
oh
Me
yeah.
too.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I'm just a
I don't
vessel.
want to cage
So
God in, you know? I just want to let him flow through me. And I feel
yeah,
like if
man.
oh,
Yeah. So but no, I mean I think that was I completely forgot what the question was or what we were talking about, but yeah.
we were
Oh,
talking about
but so I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just always like, I just never knew like I just never knew what was going on, and like what I should have my eyes open for. And just I don't know, like when I was teaching, I was tenured. And so I mean, for me at that point, I borderline would have had to break the law to lose my teaching job. And I don't think people realize, and especially like in my industry, like people are like, oh, I love the brewery I work for. It's a family. First of all, it's not. Like words mean things. It's a
Yeah,
business. When they can't pay you anymore, they're going to stop paying you. That's a business, not a family. What they mean to say is that they're going to try to treat you with dignity. So we should just say that. We should just say words that actually mean what we mean to say. But sometimes people like to say family, and I get it because people do want to do that. But anyways, I think it's important to use words that actually mean the things that they mean.
I
But
love it.
people buy into that, and they put all this weight into that, and they don't realize that they have to create their own stability in this industry, which is like a lot of industries. You have to make your own stability, and a lot of times you do that through all the basics, doing all the things you're supposed to be doing as an employee, um, but also getting better, keeping your eyes open, looking for opportunity, not just different jobs, but like ways to like network up and get better. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I think it's really so I'm little bit younger than Rosie here, and I think especially it would have been helpful when I was a younger man.
A little bit.
Um, I'm being generous. Um, that I know, like you touched on, like not knowing what was going on, and like I think
Mm,
especially now, or at least with like my generation, there's just sort of this bordering on apathy with just life,
mm,
and just like almost letting it pass you by. Not so. I think that's a real call to action for myself at least to just like open your eyes, smell the roses, touch grass, um,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
pay
And
attention
I
to
mean,
what's going on around you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really hard, and something that I've really struggled with is, so I was not using. I was when I started doing Adam Makes Beer. I was not using any social media. I hadn't really used any social media for years, but I realized that I needed to use it in order to help grow the YouTube side stuff. And so, at as a 45-year-old, I had to learn how to use Instagram, which is crazy. I had never had an Instagram before, and there's all these things to learn. One of the things that I found is, because so much of my work can be done through my phone, it's a real challenge to separate. And I know this the same way for a lot of people, but it's a real challenge to separate myself from my phone and some of those apps on there. And I'll say this, this past week, I've really cut it out almost like completely, other than like when I need to like post on Instagram or things like that. And I felt so much better. My mind has been clear. I've been so much more productive. And I know this is like, it's like the most obvious stuff. Um, but just this week, and and I could probably stink at it next week, but this week I was pretty good, and I didn't just waste time on my phone with short videos, with scrolling, with nonsense. And the difference you feel is unbelievable. It's
It's
unbelievable.
it's so
Productivity
funny.
up. Yeah.
You said just this week I did the same.
Uh-huh.
And I deleted Facebook, the Facebook app off my phone, and I
Yeah.
still have Instagram, but I've been putting it aside, and I would
Yeah.
scroll on Facebook more than I would scroll on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have, like, Instagram for the show and stuff, but, um, I felt so much more clear too. It's really interesting timing, like,
Oh yeah, man.
people are just
Yeah.
kinda maybe starting to just like, "Whoa, I need to
Maybe
step
having
back." It's like
maybe
Wally and those people, like, come out of it, and they're like, "Whoa."
maybe having a nightmare rectangle in front of my face all the time isn't the healthiest thing I could do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and and I mean, I was actually thinking about it. I was actually thinking about it recently, but I mean, and again, this is nothing earth shattering, but I feel like the stuff that comes through that thing is meant to make you feel unsettled.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It tries to show you things either you don't need to be looking at, or things that rile you up. And yeah, But like again, that's nothing groundbreaking or anything like that. But it is a good reminder, and especially since the fact that like tomorrow I could easily like waste my day again, like doing the same things, right? Even though like I'm talking about it right now, so I do have to like stay diligent, and I found that that's where my prayer time is missing, right? Like when I miss my prayer time, it's because of this.
Mhm.
Well, I don't have time. Well, that's where my time is. I'm spending it on that. So,
100%.
anyways,
I don't have time
The
for
the
that.
the, the glorification of busy.
What did Saint Mother Teresa
yeah,
said? If you're too busy to pray, you're too busy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
yeah. I've actually been trying to stop saying busy.
oh,
Because
interesting. Tell us more.
like because my friends have been like, well, I mean, everybody, how's it going? Like, oh man, just good,
Yeah.
staying busy or been
So
busy.
busy. Yeah, yeah.
And so like sometimes I think maybe it might have been a Father Mike Schmitz thing or whatever, but a homily or whatever that I heard like maybe a couple years ago even, but I've been thinking about that, and I actually want to like I actually am trying to like tell people stuff because um I think rather than saying that, like it's a small opportunity for me to reframe, you know what I mean? So like it's like, okay, so like today wasn't busy. I was doing dad stuff. And so what was the dad stuff I was doing? So, Ben and I came home from dropping off the big kids. My wife and I have 6 kids. Our oldest is
Oh,
23, our youngest is 4.
oh,
And
awesome.
That's a
so we have
spread.
a big range. So we have 2 littles. So we have a 6 and a 4-year-old. So we still have 2 that are small. So we're still very much in that range. But like actually just
Yeah.
saying what I did rather than just saying like, oh, I was busy with Ben today. Or I was just busy in the house and then I got the kids and then I don't know, like for me, like actually talking about it, like actually creates opportunities for me to talk about like what we did, like the little things that went well that day or whatever. But anyways, like not just writing it off as everything as, oh, well, this was something that was busy. No, like there was things in there that I did, and it reminds me to be intentional about it too. So, anyways, that's something I've been trying to do a little bit lately.
Well, it's like you said, like words matter.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
like you said with busy, it's like, no, like I spent all day with my kids or doing
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. And I think it encourages and it brings more opportunity for like actually like having an authentic conversation with someone. Cause I think especially young people right now just like crave authenticity and need human
Yeah.
connection and they do not get enough of it.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Including me and
Definitely.
that young person.
I'm including me.
Oh, okay. And that young
I
I
mean,
person.
am not including me as a young person.
you seem like you're young at heart though. So I mean
Oh,
You
that's
don't
yeah,
good.
see.
young at
I
heart.
wouldn't call. How can I? How old are you?
I'll be turning, well, I'm 48. I'm
Okay,
48.
I'm 40.
So, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like 12.
I'm
Listen,
29.
29.
it co
20. Really?
it comes at you fast, man. It comes
Yeah,
at you
yeah, it does.
fast.
I found out, my cousin whose diaper I've changed is in high school now. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just found that out because he was in my welding class.
I thought
Yeah.
he was in grade 9 for a second year for some reason. So he's
Well,
like,
yeah, I'm
"No,
I'm
he's
at
in
the
high
point
school
to
now."
where,
Like,
like,
"Ugh."
I watch well, I follow a fair amount of football, and so I see the quarterbacks that like the rookie and second year quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and I'm like, these guys are like 12 years old. What is happening? How is
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
possible that these guys are in the league? But
The
yeah, it,
the
it
year
just
they
keeps
were
getting
born
worse.
starts with a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What? How's that a thing?
They didn't continue making people after 1999, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, how does that
exactly,
work?
exactly.
Or they shouldn't have. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so
Says the man with 3 kids.
yeah, hey, yeah, we have what do we have? 9, 7, and 3. So
Beautiful,
yeah, it's
beautiful.
sweet. It's real busy. No, I'm just kidding. It's really fun. Um, so we interviewed Father Dom from Harmel,
hmm hmm
and he had this idea of like co-creating with God. So
Mm,
fact that we're made in God's image and likeness, and I mean, it's not his idea; it's in the Catechism, but
sure.
he he
No, it's
really
his now.
he brings it into like a trade context where it's like every weld is a prayer because of that.
Mm,
Every single because God is that we're all made in God's image, and His Spirit lives within us, and anything we create, we're co-creating with Him. If obviously there's got to be that intentionality and disposition, but is there so in a welding context? Yeah, every weld can be a prayer, almost like an
Yeah.
iconographer. Every brush stroke is a prayer. It's written, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything in the brewing scene industry in the practice of creating a new beer that you could kind of or that you do or could relate to in this way? Like every
Sure. Sure.
blank is a prayer, or like offering that whole process up as a prayer, or yeah, can you talk a little bit
I
about that?
think the way that question hits me is, and I don't know if it's like in if it's like analogous to like the spiritual walk, but so in brewing, um, in my opinion, I think in a lot of brewers' opinions, some of the simplest beers are the most challenging to brew. So sometimes a lot of people like to make fun of, like mass, big production like light lager, Bud Miller Coors. The reality is from a technical standpoint, those beers are very difficult to brew.
Hmm.
Like if you have a Bud Light in Maine, Florida, California, or Kansas, it's going to taste the same. And those beers are so gently flavored that if there's anything wrong in their process, you're going to taste it. So for me, I love making lagers. I like making light lagers, more robustly flavored lagers, because I feel like that's where the real discipline of what we do is exemplified. And as I grow as a brewer and I learn different things, I used to think I'm like, okay, I'm going to implement this new process or this new ingredient or this new approach to this lager that I'm making, and then I'm going to be there. And then like it's going to be in the pocket. It's going to be amazing. And then I would make that change and it would be an improvement, but it wasn't like the whole thing. And then that kind of kept happening, like over the years, you keep chasing, getting better, getting better, getting better. And rather than like saying, oh, here's this thing, here's this key that's just going to make everything work. Um, I'm on the brewing side, we have the conversation of it's one more thing that I'm putting in my tool belt, right? So like on the path to making great beer, it's not just one key, but it's all these lessons and processes and things that you're going to learn over the years that's going to take you in that direction. um I think in my own spiritual walk, where the parallel lies is sometimes I think, okay, well, this experience or this practice of mine is going to be the thing that gets me over the hump with where I want to be spiritually. And for me, more often than not, I forget, as I referenced before, I forget the fact, that he is the potter and I am the clay. Far too often, I'm trying to make myself holy. I think that's one of my primary failures, that instead of allowing God to form me, right? And so I think one of the parallels between brewing and the spiritual life for me is there's not some magic approach that's going to make everything perfect. It's really about walking the path and continuing to like grow. I'm impatient and I just want to get places. I think if I work hard and I learn all the things I can learn, and I put all this energy into something, it should just be great. And that's not how things are. And I think there's parallels for me in the spiritual life as somebody that likes to be in the driver's seat, as somebody that tries to make those things happen on their own. Sometimes you just need to you need to participate in the process, and be patient. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I need to hear that, the Potter and Clay thing. I
Yes.
need to hear that
I mean,
today.
but that's the thing, right? I mean, that's I have to spend, and that was a relatively, I don't remember, it was a conversation that I was having with my wife or something like that. And I really am fortunate to have you know, I can genuinely say I don't know if there's anybody I've ever met that's more Christ-like than my wife. She has been, and I don't have to like, I don't have to. I'm not like, I don't got to fib about that. I don't gotta, I'm not. It's not a stretch. She's a really a really special person, and so yeah, I mean, it's really important to have like those people, whether it's your spouse, it's your friends, a regular confessor. If you don't have a regular confessor, I would suggest it, because that's been a huge, um, that's been huge for me. Having a regular confessor, somebody that knows you.
Mhm.
Um, so, anyways, yeah.
Love that.
Reminds me of I was helping out with a youth retreat this weekend, and
Hmm.
it was a high school retreat, and my friend who was leading it, I was in the back.
Mhm.
Um, he's talking about his whole thing is like, I think the what people think the definition of holiness is now, especially is kind of skewed,
Mhm.
and that like holiness at its core is just like Christ wanting to make you you, and like
Mm.
holy you with like
Mhm.
WH,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. The the striving for perfection that you were talking about and everything
Mm.
is kind of calling that back to mind.
Something that a dear friend of mine, Father Jagger, he was the regular confessor that I went to for years when I was back in Michigan. Something that he said to me one time, and yeah, I'm sure it's not original material. But after after I had given my confession, he mentioned that he said that you talk about sin as something that weighs you down. Um, and he said, really, he's like, it's not a thing, but he said it depletes us. He said you're better off thinking of, rather than something, that this sin is something you're carrying, it's something that diminishes you.
Mm.
And it's the grace from confession, it's God's love, it's his forgiveness, it's his grace that reanimates us, that fills us. He said, because a lot of times, he said, sin can just deplete us until we're just this weak thing lying on the ground that can't even move. But it's God's forgiveness and his grace that fills us, fills our sails, and animates us and makes us who we're meant to be. And that's something that I've, along with many things, that he's told me over the years. That's one of the things that I'll come back to frequently.
One of the things we like to ask our guests, Adam, is
Mhm.
what is like one of the practical ways you find God in your work? You've touched on it a little bit,
Mhm.
but just like
Mhm.
actual like tangible things to like put into practice, like living your faith,
That you could recommend to people to
like
like employ in their lives.
in their lives, or like especially like at their job. I mean, like walking the righteous path is no easy feat. It's
Sure.
even harder when you're surrounded by people who maybe don't share that. And what we
Sure.
experience in a shop, not so
Sure.
much in a brewery. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's, the brewing industry is relatively restaurant adjacent, and the restaurant field can be pretty rough and tumble, in and of itself, and it's very much like on the bar restaurant side. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. One thing is, it's really important to, especially if like you're working in a place with folks where like things aren't your scene. Like I've worked in a number of places where um people are more into like uh recreational drugs than I am. and it makes me an outcast. Okay.
Mm.
And so one, I think it's really important to like, that's uncomfortable for me. It might sound kind of like a weird situation, but I've had times where I didn't fit in on a staff, um, in part because I didn't get high with them after work. And when you're in different situations, it can be easy to become resentful, um, holier than thou,
Mm.
judgmental, um, all those things. I think one of the things that has been beautiful about um, forgiveness, having suffered for my own sins and my own choices, is that one of the beautiful mercies that has come out of that is on occasion, not all the time, on occasion, um, I can see someone's pain rather than their behavior.
Mm.
Um, and
That's
again,
nice.
this is on occasion,
You're like, I just go into
but
this fit of ecstasy and I
no, 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 no.
see
But every
Weird
once
things
in a
that happen.
while,
Yeah.
like
I can read their
there,
soul. It's this weird thing, the
well,
grace.
no, but
Like
really
blessed.
what it is like, like when okay, so I've been broken and I know how I behaved while I was broken,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes when somebody is exhibiting a certain behavior, rather than getting angry at them from a management standpoint or from a coworker standpoint, you can just say, "Oh, you're busted up." And not
Mm.
literally, I mean,
No,
you
totally.
know what I mean? But like that's like I think I can recognize on occasion some of that, right? And I
It's
think
cool.
that's like so when we can question like the biggest like one of the biggest questions, one of the most difficult questions is explaining suffering to people, right? And suffering does have a role in our sanctification.
Mhm.
Um and I think part of it is that sometimes we suffer and it can help us become merciful. It can help us understand somebody else's pain a little bit more. You know what I mean? But yeah, anyways, I may not have answered your question at all, but that's where I ended up going with
I like
it.
the answer we got.
No, I like that. I like that because you're kind of you're practicing empathy, right? You're
Well, and that's
understand.
what it and that's been my experience with forgiveness and grace,
Mm.
right? And I think so often we want to avoid confession. We want to avoid frequent confession, but it's such an outpouring of grace. It's such just recently I told my wife, I'm like, listen, I'm going to start going back weekly for a while because I need to tighten up. Like I
Mm.
need, you know what I mean? Like I need a tune up in general, and I can feel it. You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those deals where you just got to get over. And I'm talking to myself. I just
Yeah,
got to get over my own pride and start doing those things again. I need to get centered. I need to be praying daily. And this is obvious, but it's not something that's always a part of my life, right? And then
totally.
things start slipping. So
Well, it's simple, not easy, right? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can totally relate. I just it's so funny. I just am going through that same kind of feeling that call to do that as well. Like I'm a
Mm,
cradle Catholic. I
yeah,
worked in Catholic youth ministry for a few years.
yeah.
I'm a teacher at a Catholic school and on paper everything looks good. But
Hmm.
then what's my daily prayer like? Wow, I'm busy. There's that word again. You
Hmm.
know? And just recently in the last week and a half, 2 weeks have really a strong call, but also like feeling like actually I don't want this to sound bad, whatever. It'll sound how it sounds. But I'm actually the desert isn't as bad anymore because I've actually, when I'm kneeling, when I just take that moment and just kind of kneel beside my bed or wherever I'm at, just sit and actually pursue God.
Hmm.
with my heart in that moment,
Hmm.
whatever, or get up in the morning before, like, I'm actually feeling a little bit of his presence that I haven't felt in a long time, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, should I have
Yeah.
just done that? Is that just there the whole time, or is this a special
Yeah.
grace or whatever? But it's
Yeah.
really interesting that you shared that because I feel like I'm on like a really similar timed, um, I don't know, what would you revert? No, I'm not reversion because it was never out, but just maybe like going a little bit more
Refresh.
in depth
Yeah. Yeah.
with it, another level. I don't know, or maybe just like revisiting levels I've been at before. Not that there's
Sure.
levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
You're definitely
100%. I mean, the whole thing's an ebb and flow.
level 2 Catholic. Yeah, yeah.
Level two.
Yeah, there's 78 million levels. I'm at level 2. Sweet. I'm not even and there's 78 million games. There's, like, Catholic 1, Catholic 2, and within those games, and I'm at game 1, level 2 all day long. Here we go. It's like level 2 Tetris. Blocks are still slow. I still can move them around. No, so, staying in the idea of practical things,
Mhm.
if someone were wanting to get into brewing at home or like
Mhm.
home brew, self brewing, whatever it's called, home brew.
Yep. Homework.
Um, what are some practical tips that you'd let like don't do this thing, or is there like don't do this type of kit or I don't know what it is, but is there some sort of
Yeah.
I just
I
I
think
just I just named all the negatives. Don't do
no,
this.
no, no. I think first of all, it's especially today, like leverage available information, whether that be online on YouTube, whether that be locally, because there's homebrew clubs, other people, people around you that might be in it. It is a good opportunity for community building. But yeah, I mean, big picture, what brewing is for me, brewing is a process game. And sometimes people find that unromantic and they again want to hear about, like the
Sam
artistic
Adams commercial.
recipe creation side. Yeah, the Sam Adams commercial. But really fundamentally, like unless you have your processes on point. So like in brewing, you have the hot side and cold side. So hot side is the day that you're brewing, that you're making the wort, WORT, which is the malt sugar water that will be fermented into beer on the cold side. Hot side comparative to cold side almost doesn't matter. Yes, you have you have metrics that you're trying to hit on hot side. Hot side is important, but you could make the best wort on earth, but if it's not handled right on the cold side, it's just going to be bad beer. You know what I mean? So brewing, even though it may seem unromantic, is certainly a process game. Some of the most important things you can do are learn how to clean and sanitize appropriately, how to make sure that you have enough happy and healthy yeast going into your fermenter, and that you can maintain the temperatures
Mm,
in that fermenter. And those are kind of like the big keys. The funny thing is when I came up home brewing, there was some cool equipment, but it is wild. It's unbelievable how much money you can spend on equipment. And I used to have, when I was having success on the homebrewing side, I would give talks at homebrewing conferences, and people would make fun of me because my homebrewing setup was kind of janky, because it wasn't that special on the hot side, but I spent almost all my money that I did invest in it on being able to propagate yeast and be able to maintain fermentation temperatures appropriately. So that's like how those are like my big tips for people getting into that. Those are the big key things. If you can do those things, you're going to make drinkable beer and you won't get frustrated, because sometimes, like when you're new at something, it's not going to be good because it's the first time you did it.
uh-huh.
So if you can kind of lock down those elements, it can kind of keep that fire burning, that curiosity going, because you can say, hey, this is beer. Like, this might not be the best beer I've ever had, but this is definitely beer. Um, and
This didn't
me
kill
and
me.
me and the
Yeah.
fellas can drink this. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And it can sound a little process heavy, but that's the core of it, I think, for being successful with making beer.
I got a really dumb question.
Hmm.
So like the yeast, it's alive, right? It's
Hmm.
Are there folks who like play music for it, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Is there
Yeah.
like how you play music
People
for
will say
plants and all?
people will say that you can play classical for it and it does different things.
Interesting.
There's people that really dive in on that. um I don't know. I mean, it is a living organism. um People in my industry can tend to be a little bit on the woo woo side of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And so, people will be like, you don't want to bring like negative energy into the
Oh
cellar.
yeah,
You like
vibes,
where you have
positive
the beer.
vibes.
So yeah, it's your vibes, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
And listen, there's a lot of vibes people that I love tremendously out there. It's nothing like that. But
yeah.
I do think I will say that I do think um we um I'm sorry, I just had a message come on my computer. um I do think that, like, I don't think it's as much about like our attitudes or the music affecting the yeast or anything like that, but I do think the way that like the people in the brewery treat each other, that's contagious. And I think it can help change the experience of the product. So like when you walk into a place where the staff loves working with each other, and they're happy to be there, happy to be serving you, the quality of that beer, the perception of that beer increases, the perception of that food increases, right? Because you're there to build an experience for somebody. And if you're delivering on the kind of that intangible side of things, it definitely magnifies the other things.
That's cool.
It reminds me, going way back to your sort of like your familial upbringing with like the loving through food. And it's like the food always tastes better when it's made by people who love the food and love
Yeah,
you and what you do. Like sort of like the ministry of the household is what me and my buddy call it.
absolutely,
Is this like,
absolutely,
it makes a
absolutely.
difference, like knowing that it's like, oh, this was made for me intentionally and like
Yes,
by someone who cares.
yes.
100%. Like my son, he's 9. He's like, we're coming home from the farm today. We went out to visit my in-laws, and he's like, "Mom and Dad, I'm making supper tonight. I mean, what?
Yeah,
I'm making supper. Okay, what are you gonna make?" He's like, "I'm gonna make hash brown because we don't have fries in the house right now." He's
sure.
like, "I'm gonna make hash brown poutine." Are you
Hey,
familiar
all
with
right.
poutine at all? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Fried.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And we're like, "Sweet." And so he had those, like, hash brown patties, and he cut them up, and he put them in the it's so fun 'cause he put them on a pan and put them in the oven and
Hmm.
keeps checking them. But he's also watching, like, a movie, and he's like he loses track. I'm like, Hey, like, you gonna burn them, whatever." But, like, the he opens the timer goes off, he opens it up, he sees the hash browns, they're, like, perfect, he's like, "Yes." He's just happy with the hash brown.
Crushed it.
And
Yeah,
then And then
yeah,
he gets the cheese curds in there, and he's making gravy, like a packaged gravy, and
yeah,
puts it all together. He's so proud of it, and, delicious.
yeah.
And it tastes better than, like, if I would have made that.
Sure.
Like, it's like hash browns and gravy and cheese. But,
Yeah,
like, my son made, for us, this poutine.
yeah,
Eh?
yeah.
It's like, this it just tastes better.
It's like I would take
The vibes were positive, bro.
The
I
vibes.
would I would take the buttered cheese noodles that my nana would make me as a little
Yes.
boy over
Sure.
just about anything any day,
Buttered
even if
cheese
it was the same
noodles.
thing I made myself. And I like to cook, so
Yeah, yeah. That's
Sure.
awesome. Okay, well, Adam, I just want to say this has been, we could keep talking, but we've kept you an hour and
Ah,
15. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. And
certainly. Certainly. I
it's
appreciate
been
you having
really
me on.
cool hearing about the craft, but also the intention behind what you do,
Mm.
and how you can really tell just by when you're talking about it that you love doing it, but there's also like a purpose behind it. It's not, like you said, it's not just a job. And I'm glad that you found that type of focus and purpose in that, away from something like teaching. And it's really refreshing to know that if someone were to leave a career that's more public service, I guess you'd call it, that you'd find that similar kind of feeling or purpose out in the private world, I guess. Does that make
Definitely.
sense?
Definitely.
Super cool. So, couple questions.
Mhm.
Where can people learn about your beer specifically? I guess we didn't even talk about that, did we?
We'll
Like,
have to have
Yeah.
you back
So
on.
what's it? Yeah.
Have you back on. part
he's all
two.
actually I'll pass. It's fine.
No, thanks.
No.
I'm very busy. Yeah.
No, you can check out what I have going on over on Adam Makes Beer on YouTube, and on the YouTube channel you can click the playlist tab, and on that I'll have tons of just brew days, and it's like you're in the brewery making beer with me. They're like
Oh,
longer
that's cool.
form videos, and I explain what the equipment is, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and kind of the whole thing there. And then Adam Makes Beer on Instagram. I do anything from hopefully funny memes to hopefully educational content. So, but yeah, all beer focused. So that's where I have my stuff going on. And then
We'll
I
put-
do like I do weekly live stream podcasts as well.
Okay. And the football stuff.
And the football stuff. Yeah, waiting since
Yeah, you gotta plug the
57.
football stuff.
Yeah, plug it on, man.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's where I do that.
If someone wanted to try your beer, where would they go? What would they
You can't ask if right now because I'm not attached to a brewery. If you're in the Cincinnati area and you want to check out some beers that I've been attached to in the past, you could go to Sonder Brewing or to Cartridge Brewing. But yeah,
Sweet. We'll put all the links to all the social media and the YouTubes and everything
awesome, man.
in the show notes.
Yes.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
coming
much,
on.
Adam.
We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's been
Of
good.
course.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, Rosie.
And thank you to everyone for listening. Yeah, please share and subscribe. This is a fun show, and we like to, try to inspire folks in the trades and in what would you call that? Artisan craftsmanship.
I would say
Yeah.
craftsmanship.
Yeah, crafts people.
Yeah.
We
You're
want to inspire them just to and you really did that today. I could really see how you find God in what you do and
Awesome.
dignity in what you do. So that's the whole point. Thank you so much for coming on, and thanks to everyone for listening. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Take care, comb your hair. Love you. Bye.